I always found it ironic how my brother Derek judged my worth based on my bank account. He flaunted his designer clothes and sports car while I drove a beat-up Honda and lived in a modest apartment. Little did he know that behind my simple lifestyle was the secret ownership of our grandfather's furniture empire. I chose substance over show, just as Grandpa taught me. The business grew quietly under my leadership, far from Derek's mocking eyes, until one day, everything changed. Before I tell you how my brother's face changed when he walked into my office and saw my name on every wall, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to deal with judgmental family members. Growing up in our middle-class Boston neighborhood, my grandfather was my hero. While other kids played video games, I spent weekends in his workshop learning how to transform raw wood into beautiful furniture. Jackson, he would say, his calloused hands guiding mine, remember that true craftsmanship is about what others cannot see. The joints hidden inside determine whether a piece lasts generations or falls apart in years. Those lessons went beyond woodworking. Grandpa built his furniture business from nothing after returning from military service with just $200 in his pocket. By the time I was born, Hartwell Furnishings employed 30 craftsmen and had clients across New England. Grandpa never forgot his humble beginnings, though. He drove the same truck for 20 years and reinvested profits back into the company and his workers. My brother Derek was different from the start. 3 years older than me, he gravitated toward status and recognition early. In high school, while I worked part-time at Grandpa's workshop, Derek captained the football team and dated the most popular girls. Our father, Thomas, beamed with pride at Derek's trophies and social connections, seeing in him the charismatic success he had always wanted to be. Your brother knows how to make an impression, Dad would say after Derek charmed parents at school events. That skill will take him far in life. Mom tried to balance things, praising my woodworking projects and academic achievements. Jackson has depth, she would tell Dad during their late-night conversations that echoed through our thin walls. But Dad would counter that depth does not pay bills or impress clients. After high school, our paths diverged further. Derek attended an Ivy League university on a partial athletic scholarship supplemented generously by our parents, emptying their savings. I chose the state university with a strong business program, working weekends at Grandpa's company to avoid student loans. When Derek graduated with his business degree, he landed a job at a prestigious financial firm downtown. His starting salary was impressive, and within 2 years, he bought a luxury condo overlooking the harbor. His social media became a showcase of expensive restaurants, exclusive clubs, and vacations to tropical destinations. I completed my business management degree and faced the typical struggles of recent graduates during a tough economic period. Job interviews led nowhere. My student apartment was small but functional. The contrast between us could not have been more stark at family gatherings. Still driving that death trap, little brother Derek asked at Mom's birthday dinner, dangling his BMW key fob, "I could refer you for an entry-level position at my company. The pay is probably double whatever retail job you can find." Dad laughed appreciatively, while Mom shot him a disapproving look. Grandpa, who had grown quieter as his health declined, simply watched the interaction with thoughtful eyes. What nobody knew was that during my college years, Grandpa had been preparing me for something important. After family dinners, he would invite me to his study, where company ledgers and contracts spread across his desk. "The business is changing, Jackson," he confided one evening. "Big box stores are squeezing margins. We need to evolve without losing our soul." Those private sessions became my real business education. Grandpa taught me about cash flow inventory management, and most importantly, how to honor craftsmanship in a world obsessed with cheap, disposable products. "Derek understands money," Grandpa said during our last conversation before his stroke, "but you understand value. Remember that distinction." 3 months later, Grandpa passed away peacefully in his sleep. The family gathered at his lawyer's office for the reading of the will. Everyone expected a standard division of assets, with perhaps special provisions for Grandma. The surprise came when Mr. Abernathy, Grandpa's attorney for 30 years, discussed the business. Regarding Hartwell Furnishings, Mr. Hartwell established a private trust to maintain ownership and operation of the company. The beneficiary and controlling trustee information is confidential as per his instructions, with operations to continue under current management until further notice. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair. What does that mean exactly? Who runs the company now? The trust administrators will handle all transitions. Mr. Abernathy replied calmly. Your grandfather was quite specific about his wishes. Derek looked disappointed, then dismissive. Well, it is a small operation anyway. Probably worth more if sold for the real estate than as an ongoing business. I remained silent, remembering my final promise to Grandpa. The years following Grandpa's death transformed our family dynamics. Derek's success at the financial firm accelerated, earning him promotions and bonuses that fueled his lavish lifestyle. He upgraded to a newer, more expensive car and bought a vacation property in Vermont for weekend ski trips. His wardrobe consisted exclusively of designer labels, and he frequently name-dropped celebrities he encountered at charity galas. Meanwhile, I appeared to be struggling. After several months of seemingly fruitless job searching, I took what everyone assumed was an entry-level position at Hartwell Furnishings. My parents reacted with a mixture of relief and concern. At least it is something Dad said. Though I had hoped you would aim higher than working for someone else at your grandfather's old company, Mom was more supportive. Your grandfather would be happy you are keeping a connection to the business he built. What they did not know was that I had assumed control of the company as the sole trustee and majority owner. Grandpa had quietly transferred ownership to me through the trust, believing I would preserve his legacy while adapting to changing markets. The new management that my family assumed had taken over was actually me working closely with Grandpa's most trusted lieutenants. I maintained a modest lifestyle deliberately. My apartment was comfortable, but unimpressive. I continued driving my old Honda even after it passed 150,000 miles. I brought homemade lunches to work and declined invitations to expensive outings with friends. Every available dollar went back into the business. We modernized our manufacturing processes while maintaining handcrafted quality. I expanded our online presence, created a digital catalog, and established relationships with boutique hotels and corporate clients seeking custom American-made furnishings. The business grew steadily from $3 million in annual revenue to over $5.2 million in just 3 years. Derek's mockery intensified during this period. At Thanksgiving dinner, the second year after Grandpa's death, he arrived 2 hours late, having just returned from a business trip to Tokyo. Sorry for the delay, family. First class was overbooked, so I had to slum it in business class, he announced, placing an expensive bottle of wine on the table. Jackson, this probably costs more than your weekly salary, but you should treat yourself to good things occasionally. Thanks for thinking of me, I replied, choosing not to engage with his condescension. Seriously, though, Derek continued, turning to our parents. I worry about him. 30 years old and still basically a shop assistant. I could make some calls. Find something more ambitious for him. Dad nodded appreciatively while Mom changed the subject. These interactions became routine at every family gathering. Derek showcasing his latest acquisition or exotic trip, followed by pointed comments about my apparent stagnation. The most painful incident occurred at Christmas the following year. Derek had just received a significant bonus and purchased an engagement ring for his girlfriend Natalie, a marketing executive he had been dating for 6 months. As we exchanged gifts, Derek handed me a small box with a smirk. Something practical for you, little brother. Inside was a gift card for a career counseling service with a note that read, "Time to grow up and reach your potential." Our cousin snickered. Dad looked embarrassed for me, rather than at Derek's cruelty. Mom tried to smooth things over by quickly distributing more gifts. That night, alone in my childhood bedroom, I considered revealing the truth about my role in the company. The temptation to see Derek's shock was powerful, but I reminded myself of the bigger picture. The business was thriving precisely because I focused on substance rather than appearances. Our custom furniture line was now featured in architectural magazines. We had opened a second workshop to handle increased demand. And most importantly, we had maintained Grandpa's commitment to quality and craftsmanship. Behind the scenes, my days were filled with strategic decisions and hands-on leadership. I personally visited key clients, approved designs, and worked alongside our craftsmen to maintain quality standards. The company's growth required constant attention and creative problem-solving. While Derek posted photos from VIP lounges, I was negotiating contracts that would secure our workers' jobs for years to come. My secret double life continued until plans for the company's 50th anniversary gala were underway. As the milestone approached, I realized it was time to step fully into my role publicly. The celebration would be held at the historic Gardner Museum, with industry leaders, longtime clients, and family members in attendance. Invitations went out, including to my parents and Derek, describing the event as a celebration of Hartwell Furnishings' legacy and future. None of my family members suspected my connection to the event beyond being a loyal employee. They assumed I might be serving drinks or handling coats for the real executives. Derek actually called me the week before to ask if I could introduce him to the CEO. "I have some investment opportunities that might interest the company," he explained condescendingly. "This could be a chance for you to finally make a good impression on your bosses." "I will see what I can do," I replied, suppressing a smile. The night of the gala arrived. The museum's central courtyard was transformed with displays of our finest pieces, both historical designs from Grandpa's era and contemporary collections that had revitalized the brand. Subtle lighting highlighted the craftsmanship of each piece, and waitstaff circulated with champagne and artisan appetizers. I arrived early wearing a tailored suit that was the first truly expensive item I had purchased for myself in years. The event planner reviewed final details with me as guests began to arrive. From across the room, I watched my parents enter, looking somewhat uncomfortable in the elegant setting. Dad tugged at his collar, while Mom admired a display of our newest dining collection. Then Derek arrived, Natalie on his arm, both dressed impeccably. He immediately began working the room, introducing himself to people he assumed were executives and potential contacts. I observed from a distance as he bragged about his firm's performance and hinted at his influence in financial circles. When he spotted me, he raised his eyebrows. "The suit is a nice upgrade, Jackson. Rental, or did you blow a whole paycheck on it?" "Just something I had in the closet," I replied. "Well, remember your promise." "I need to meet the man in charge before the night ends," he said, before turning back to a conversation with what he assumed was a company executive, but was actually our head craftsman. At precisely 8 o'clock, our events director clinked a glass for attention and welcomed everyone to the celebration. She spoke briefly about the company's history and Grandpa's founding vision, then introduced the CEO, who would deliver the keynote address. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Chief Executive Officer and majority owner of Hartwell Furnishings, the man who has led our company to unprecedented growth while honoring our legacy of craftsmanship, Mr. W. Jackson Hartwell." The room fell silent as I walked to the podium. From the corner of my eye, I could see Derek frozen in place, champagne glass suspended halfway to his mouth. My parents exchanged confused glances, clearly struggling to process what they had just heard. "Thank you all for joining us tonight to celebrate 50 years of Hartwell Furnishings," I began. "My grandfather started this company with the belief that furniture should be built to become family heirlooms, not disposable goods. When he passed the leadership to me through his estate plan, He challenged me to honor that tradition while guiding the company into a new era. I continued with details of our growth strategy and vision for the future. Throughout my speech, I could not help but notice Derek's expression cycling through confusion, disbelief, and finally, a dawning realization that transformed into visible anger. Natalie whispered something in his ear, but he shook his head sharply, eyes never leaving me on the stage. After outlining our expansion plans and thanking our dedicated team, I invited guests to enjoy the displays that showcased our journey from a small workshop to an industry leader in premium American furniture. As applause filled the room, I stepped down from the podium and was immediately surrounded by well-wishers and business associates. It took nearly 20 minutes to make my way across the room to where my parents stood. Mom embraced me with tears in her eyes. "Why did you never tell us?" she asked, her voice a mixture of pride and hurt. "Grandpa wanted a smooth, quiet transition," I explained. "And honestly, I needed time to grow into the role without pressure or expectations." Dad seemed stunned into uncharacteristic silence, his eyes darting around the room at the numerous plaques and awards bearing my name that were displayed throughout the venue. All this time he finally managed. "We thought you were just an employee." I know I finished for him. That was easier for everyone while I found my footing. Before we could continue this long overdue conversation, Derek appeared at my elbow, his face flushed with emotion. "We need to talk. Privately. Now." I excused myself from our parents and followed Derek to a small anteroom off the main hall. As soon as the door closed behind us, he turned on me. "What the hell, Jackson? Some sort of elaborate revenge plot, making a fool of me in front of everyone?" "I never set out to embarrass you, Derek," I replied calmly. "Grandpa made his decision about the company succession years ago. He trained me privately because he saw something in me that aligned with his vision for the business. And you played along with my assumptions all this time," he demanded, pacing the small room, "letting me believe you were some struggling underling while secretly running a multi-million-dollar company. You never asked about my work," I pointed out. "You were too busy telling me about yours. And the assumptions about my finances were entirely your own creation." Derek ran his hands through his perfectly styled hair, disheveling it for perhaps the first time in years. "Do you have any idea how this makes me look? I brought potential clients here tonight, people. I told about my family connections." "You can still claim those connections," I said. "Nothing has changed about our relationship, except now you know what I actually do for a living." The door opened, and Natalie peered in. "Everything okay? People are asking for the CEO to rejoin the party." Derek shot me a venomous look. "Just perfect." My little brother was playing billionaire cosplay while I made a complete fool of myself. "The company is worth $5.2 million, not billions." I corrected him, "and I am not playing at anything. This is my life's work." "Whatever," Derek snapped, taking Natalie's arm, "we are leaving. Enjoy your moment in the spotlight." As they departed, I rejoined the celebration, spending time with each group of guests while continuing to observe my parents. They moved through the room in a daze, stopping at each display that featured photos of me with clients or quotes from my interviews in trade publications. Later that evening, as the event wound down, my father approached me alone. "Your grandfather never said a word to me about his plans for you or the company. He thought you might not approve," I admitted. "You always seem to value Derek's approach to success more than mine." Dad flinched slightly, acknowledging the truth in my words. "I was wrong about many things, it seems." He gestured around the elegant space. "This is extraordinary, son. I just wish I had known what you were building all this time. Maybe it was better this way," I suggested. "No pressure, no expectations. Just the space to succeed or fail on my own terms." As guests departed, many stopped to congratulate me and comment on the beautiful event. Several mentioned encountering an unpleasant man, claiming to be the owner's brother who had abruptly left. The damage to Derek's pride was evidently substantial. The following weeks brought a barrage of text messages and voicemails from Derek, alternating between accusations of betrayal and attempts to discuss potential synergies between his financial expertise and my company. I maintained a polite but firm distance, focusing instead on the business and rebuilding relationships with my parents, who were making genuine efforts to understand my world. Then 6 months after the gala, something unexpected happened. Derek's firm was implicated in a financial scandal involving improper client billing practices. Though Derek himself was not directly responsible, his division was restructured and he was let go with several colleagues as part of the fallout. The timing could not have been worse for him personally. Natalie had recently broken off their engagement. The payments on his luxury condo and car were stretching his savings, and job prospects in his field had suddenly become complicated by the scandal's shadow. I learned all this not from Derek directly, but from Mom, who called one evening clearly distressed. "Your brother would never admit it, but he is in serious trouble, Jackson. He might lose his condo, and he has been having panic attacks. The doctor prescribed medication, but he cannot afford the copays without insurance from his job." My first reaction, mixed vindication with indifference. After years of mockery and recent hostility, why should I care about Derek's reversal of fortune? But something Grandpa once told me resurfaced in my memory. The test of a man's character is not how he treats those who can benefit him, but how he responds to those who cannot. After several days of internal debate, I called Derek. The conversation was awkward and strained. His voice, normally confident to the point of arrogance, sounded hollowed out by stress and uncertainty. I did not call to gloat. I assured him after an uncomfortable silence. "Then why did you call?" he asked wearily. "Because we are brothers," I said simply, "and I think I might have a proposition for you." The following Monday, Derek arrived at Hartwell Furnishings headquarters for our meeting. The contrast with his previous self was striking. His designer clothes had been replaced with a department store suit that hung loosely on his frame. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his handshake lacked its usual aggressive firmness. My office overlooked the main workshop floor where craftsmen shaped and assembled furniture pieces. Through the large windows, the sounds of activity created a productive backdrop to our conversation. "Nice view," Derek commented, glancing around at the space decorated with prototypes of our newest designs alongside photographs of Grandpa's original workshop. "Corner office with your name on the door. You have done well for yourself." "Thank you," I replied, gesturing for him to take a seat. "But we are here to talk about you." I laid out my proposal directly. Hartwell Furnishings was expanding its custom corporate division, creating bespoke office furnishings for law firms, tech companies, and financial institutions. We needed someone who understood those environments from the inside, who could speak the language of corporate clients and anticipate their needs. "Are you offering me a sales position?" Derek asked, brow furrowing. "Not exactly," I clarified. "I am offering you a chance to learn this business from the ground up, starting in client relations, but with a path toward heading the entire corporate division if you demonstrate aptitude and commitment." I slid a folder across the desk, containing the offer details. The starting salary was modest by Derek's previous standards, but included health insurance that would cover his medical needs and a company car allowance that would allow him to downsize from his luxury vehicle without losing face. "There are conditions," I continued. "You will report to our client relations director, not to me. You will complete the same training program as any new employee, and your advancement will depend entirely on your performance, not our relationship." Derek flipped through the documents, his expression unreadable. "Why would you do this after how I have treated you?" "Partly because we need someone with your skill set," I answered honestly. "And partly because Grandpa would have wanted me to. He always believed the company should support family, but never without expecting excellence in return." After a long pause, Derek closed the folder. "I need some time to think about it. Take the week I offered. The position will remain open until Friday." 3 days later, Derek accepted the job. His adjustment was far from smooth. Accustomed to authority and deference, he struggled with his entry-level status. Twice in the first month, our HR director recommended termination after Derek clashed with supervisors. Both times I intervened with the caveat that it would be his final chance. The turning point came unexpectedly during a visit from our largest potential client, a national hotel chain, considering our furniture for a new luxury brand launch. The procurement team toured our facility, asking detailed questions about materials and production processes. When they expressed concerns about durability, Derek recognized the underlying issue immediately. "You are comparing us to overseas manufacturers who prioritize initial appearance over longevity," he told them. "Let me show you something." He led them to a display where we kept furniture pieces that had been in service for decades and recently refurbished. With unexpected passion, Derek explained how our construction methods ensured pieces could be restored rather than replaced, creating long-term value despite higher initial costs. The procurement team left impressed, and 2 weeks later, we secured the largest contract in company history. Derek's understanding of corporate decision-making had translated our craftsmanship ethic into their language of ROI and brand values. That evening, I found Derek still at his desk, reviewing customer feedback reports long after most employees had left. "Congratulations on the hotel deal," I said from his doorway. He looked up, surprise registering on his face. "Just doing my job." "You did more than that. You found the connection between what they needed and what we offer. That is a rare skill." An uncomfortable silence stretched between us before Derek finally spoke. "I need to apologize, Jackson, not just for how I treated you all these years, but for not seeing what was right in front of me. Grandpa chose you for this role because you understood what matters in building something lasting. I was too busy chasing status to learn that lesson." "It is never too late to learn," I replied. "Grandpa would say that, I think." Our relationship began to heal gradually after that conversation. Derek downsized to a more modest apartment and found unexpected satisfaction in mastering the details of furniture production. He started joining me for weekend workshop sessions, learning the woodworking skills I had absorbed from Grandpa years earlier. 6 months turned into a year, and Derek earned his promotion to Assistant Director of Corporate Sales through genuine merit. His financial expertise proved valuable as we explored expansion opportunities, and his network of contacts opened doors previously closed to us. Mom and Dad witnessed our evolving partnership with a mixture of relief and wonder. At family dinners, the conversation no longer revolved around status symbols, but instead focused on design, innovations, and client stories. Dad, who had once dismissed my career path, now asked thoughtful questions about the business Grandpa had built and I had transformed. On the 3rd anniversary of the company gala, we held a smaller celebration for employees and family. As I looked around the room, I felt Grandpa's presence in the craftsmanship displayed in every corner. Derek stood across the room, explaining a complex joinery technique to our newest apprentice with the same patience Grandpa had once shown me. Later that evening, as we locked up the workshop, Derek paused by a photograph of Grandpa that hung near the entrance. "Do you think he would be proud of us? Both of us?" "I mean, I know he would," I answered without hesitation. He always said the true measure of success was creating something that improved with age. I think that applies to furniture businesses and brothers too. The company continued to thrive, reaching a valuation of $7 million by the end of that year. But the real wealth, I discovered, had nothing to do with the numbers in our bank account. It lay in the legacy we were preserving, the craftspeople whose livelihoods we supported, and the healed relationships that had once seemed beyond repair. I still drive a modest car, though I finally replaced the old Honda. My apartment, while comfortable, remains far from extravagant. The greatest luxury I have found is the freedom to build something meaningful without being enslaved to appearances. Derek, surprisingly, has adopted a similar philosophy, finding satisfaction in substance that had eluded him during his flashiest years. Have you ever discovered that something you thought was a weakness turned out to be your greatest strength? Or have you experienced a moment when someone who judged you had to completely reconsider their perspective? Share your story in the comments below. I read every comment and would love to hear about your experience with family dynamics or professional revelations. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that true success often grows in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. Until next time, build your life with the same care you would a piece meant to last generations.